Good evening. You guessed it. We're back. I'm back to discuss more, well, for lack of a better word, shit. So far, we've covered the blueprint, the strategy, and the execution of the system that we have come to know as the Trump administration. Now, there's one more element that comprises this machine, and we're going to discuss it today. This is Fit for Brains. So it begs to ask, who actually runs a government? 300,000 civil servants were pushed out. So it's not them. It's been real. But their replacements are loyalists from a pre approved list, which we can assume they were completely vetted individuals that are very competent. The purge was facilitated by an initiative cosplaying as a federal agency aptly named the Department of Government Efficiency, affectionately known as DOGE. Well, we here at Shit for Brains are going to try at the very least to have a better understanding of the implications of such actions. Because who needs professionals when you have loyalists? So let's review what was purged. So here is a list of the agencies impacted by the purge. Let's start with 18F, AmeriCorps, the Bonneville Power Administration, the Bureau of Consular Affairs, the Bureau of Indian Education, the Bureau of Land Management, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Central Intelligence Agency, the Citizenship and Immigration Services, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Defense, the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, Department of the Interior, Department of Justice, Department of State, Department of Transportation, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Federal Aviation Administration, the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the General Services Administration, Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the Internal Revenue Services, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, the National Institutes of Health, the National Nuclear Security Administration, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the National Park Service, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, the Office of Community Planning and Development, the Office of Personnel Management, the Small Business Administration, the Social Security Administration, the Transportation Security Administration, the United States Agency for Global Media, the U.S. Agency for International Development, the U.S. Digital Service, the U.S. Forest Service, the U.S. Geological Survey, the U.S. Postal Service, Veterans Affairs, and the Voice of America. Well, gee, what's left? Now, I didn't want to just run down a list without some details. So let's drill down into some of these agencies a bit for a better understanding of the waste that was cut. So there's the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Now, the agency's main goal is the protection of public health and safety through the control and prevention of disease, injury, and disability in the US and worldwide. Now, this is not a comprehensive list of the cuts, but some include one, laboratories involved in testing for antibiotic resistance. Two, the team responsible for determining recalls of hazardous infant products. Three, cuts that affect the technology branch of the Center for Forecasting and Outbreak Analytics, which includes software engineers and computer scientists supporting the center established during the COVID-19 pandemic to improve disease outbreak prediction. Four, maternal and child health services. Five, or health programs. And six, and this is the CDC's long running violence against children and youth surveys. Now, if you're not entirely sure what that is, let me explain. The Violence Against Children and Youth surveys has played an essential role in gathering actionable data used to assess and mitigate violent, harm against children. Seems reasonably self explanatory, yet suspiciously convenient when you think about the Epstein files and who's in it. Nevertheless, wasteful. Now, moving right along, we move on to the USDA, that is the United States Department of Agriculture. Now, this executive agency aims to meet the needs of commercial farming and livestock food production, promotes agricultural trade and production, works to assure food safety, protects natural resources, fosters rural communities, and works to end hunger in the United States and internationally. So again, this is not a comprehensive list cuts, but some include the following. One, researchers in the Agricultural Research Service, a division dedicated to using science to protect the nation's food supply. Two, cuts to two federal programs that provided about $1 billion in funding to schools and food banks to buy food directly from local farms, ranchers, and producers. Who wants to eat farm to table food anyway? Now we're moving on to the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Now, this is a federal agency that is responsible for protecting and promoting public health through the control and supervision of food safety, tobacco products, caffeine products, dietary supplements, prescription and over-the-counter pharmaceutical drugs and or medications, vaccines, biopharmaceuticals, blood transfusions, medical devices, electromagnetic radiation emitting devices, EREDs, cosmetics, animal foods and feed, and veterinary products. Now, this is once again not a comprehensive list of cuts, but some include one, drug approvals. The number of required pivotal clinical trials for a new drug approval was reduced from two to one. Two, animal testing was de emphasized in favor of alternatives such as computational modeling and organ on a chip technology. Three, over the counter medicine. More medications were made available over the counter. Now, I can see how that could cause a potential issue down the
Shut up,
road.
DEI hire.
Four, FDA operations. Human resources and information technology were centralized. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's code for AI is running the FDA now. Anyway, five, FDA advisory committees no longer review drug applications. It's time for reviewing new drug applications when we want to flood the market with partially tested remedies in 55 days or less. Sufficient. Last but certainly not least on this list is the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA is a federal agency within the Department of Transportation that regulates civil aviation in the United States and surrounding international waters. Its powers include air traffic control, certification of personnel and aircraft, setting standards for airports, and protection of U.S. assets during the launch or re entry of commercial space vehicles. Now, once again, this is not a comprehensive list of cuts, but some include one, the elimination of numerous management positions, including the chief air traffic official, the associate administrator for commercial space and deputy, the director of the audit and evaluation office, the assistant administrator for civil rights, and the assistant administrator for finance and management. In addition to multiple positions and programs, including mission support and safety, technical operations, and technical training. I suppose when you hire fully vetted, competent loyalists, you don't need experts. So that's inspector generals fired in a single night, scientists removed from their own reports, the weather forecasters, the food safety inspectors, the air traffic controllers, gone. Leaves one to wonder what could possibly go wrong. Governments don't fail loudly, they fail quietly at the level of the person that checks whether the bridge is safe. That job was cut too. Sleep well. So that's where I leave you this week. Probably be here next week. And by probably, I mean, I'll see you next week. I am your anchor, continuing to hold you down during the storm. Stay hydrated and sleep with one eye open because, for all we know, Doge probably cut that job too.
Trump turd, jummy sprains, and ain't shit we can do about it. Shit for brains, so take a seat so we can talk about it.